chat menu. All right, we'll get going. Welcome, everybody, to JagBlitz episode 8, The Beard Lives. We are your alternative to local radio, 1010XL. I'm your host, La Boyd. I am with my wonderful co-host, the MC Wale. We are Jaguar fans, and we'll say level-headed Jaguar fans, bring you the Duval. And I say that because we won. It was a little longer than last time. I say that because we won, and we bring you our thoughts and our feels towards everything Jaguars. So, Wale, how was your week?
Pretty solid week. It's even better when the Jaguars win, even having to have a little bit of a dental procedure on Monday. Even that was sweet because the Jaguars won. So, I mean, hey, it's been a good week. Let's try and continue it and go for 2 in a row.
I'm right there with you. I wasn't able to be at the game because of, we'll call it adult reasons. But
that sounds so dirty when you say it like that.
No, not because of that. But I mean, it was one of the things. Like, I had to make some choices, and I will say, I can't think of his name. Colton from Twitter and Kevin Hyde got my tickets. So congrats.
Oh, so you sold them your ticket? Oh, you gave them your ticket?
Yeah, I gave them my tickets. So congrats onto them for being able to come down from DC and watch a winning game. So yeah, it was pretty funny because he was like, "Hey, let's meet up on Sunday morning." I was like, "Yeah, that's not a problem. I can meet you at the Slab, or I can meet you at the Omni. I don't live that far." Then he texted me at like 10:30 Saturday night. He's like, "Can you meet me for tickets?" And I was like, "I am too drunk. This isn't gonna happen." I was like, "You're gonna come after?" He's like, "Oh yeah, no big deal." So he's a Kevin Hyde's a very, very trusting individual. So,
Shout out to Kevin Hyde and Colton Football.
Yeah.
Good, both good dudes. Both of them really good dudes. Very passionate Jags fans. So it's good to see them kind of get into town for a home game.
Yeah, I was very, very happy that I could help them out in their time of need. But no, I was ecstatic for kind of what happened, and of course the win. So we will go in. Our 3 topics for the evening are going to be Game 2 overview. Number 2 is going to be injuries keep plaguing the Jaguars, along with some media Twitter folk kind of wanting us to beat the Pats, because anybody other than Pats fans want people to beat the Pats.
Yes.
And then we'll look forward to kind of the game against the Pats and kind of our thoughts, our expectations, kind of what we want to see. So we'll roll right into it, Wale. What were your kind of initial thoughts for the last game? What you think we did well, poorly, general feeling, all that good stuff?
Offense got off to a pretty fast start. I have to admit that I was excited to see that the offense was able to roll starting from the first offensive possession. Blake Bortles looked fantastic. Looked like a seasoned veteran out there in the first half. The offensive line obviously didn't give up a sack the entire game, and then just seeing Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns and Marquise Lee, those three wide receivers that we expect so much from, and they were able to just kind of get started and show not only Jacksonville but the NFL as a whole, like, hey, we're making our stand, and this is how we're gonna come out and play football. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, that defensive front four, they were doing everything and anything that they could to limit the run. They stopped Lamar Miller for like what I think he had like maybe 14 yards rushing the entire game. Like, they were not able to run the ball. Now, granted, Ryan Tannehill looked fantastic. He looked like a complete beast. But even the secondary wasn't. It's not for a lack of effort or anything. It's not that they were caught out of position. It was just that Ryan Tannehill was able to make those throws into the zone coverages and kind of take advantage of what the defense gave them. But I mean, overall, that was actually a pretty good game from start to finish, even though there was that little lull going midway through the third and kind of like early into the fourth quarter where you weren't quite sure what either team was going to do, whether the Jags were going to pull away or if Miami was going to pull away. You were just kind of waiting for some sort of big play. and the Jags being able to just kind of pull ahead and get that game-winning field goal. Jason Myers kicking a 58-yard field goal towards the end of the second quarter. Everybody freaking out about that, and then obviously him kicking the game winner with about 14 seconds left on the clock. So all in all, a good game. It gives you a lot of positives to talk about, and it definitely sets the tone for how this team should try and look for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were it was an exciting game, and it was a completely different game from week one, where week one was, I don't want to say a bore fest, but
Lethargic.
It was very, yeah, that's a good word, lethargic, very kind of like, you really didn't know what was going on. And I'm sure part of that was also that Cam Newton and the Panthers looked kind of the same thing, like they were still asleep or still in Charlotte. This game was exciting. I mean, Blake, we actually threw the ball down the field, and we looked like a functional offense. And this is the first week national media didn't joke about us. They're stuck on the Browns for some reason.
Well, I mean, they should. The Browns announced that they're going back to McCown, which is dumb.
Yeah, yes, I agree. But it was the first time where we looked like an actual functional team. And I say this because my father, who doesn't watch sports very much, he watches a lot of NASCAR because he used to race stock cars and stuff like that and build stock cars when he was younger. But my dad, who does not really follow the game, we went out yesterday for lunch. We usually have lunch on Wednesdays, but we went out yesterday because he's at Disney today with my sister.
Okay.
And he's like, Lawrence, he's like, I was yelling at the TV. I was getting excited. I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, my father, who doesn't give a darn about football, is excited watching Blake Bortles play. And the things that we really did well was we converted on third down, and the main thing, and you kind of touched on it, we didn't give up a sack. And Blake didn't take a sack and / throw an interception.
He took one, but it was called off. So
yeah,
it's like
we'll call it off. The things that I want to say we did poorly was we didn't really get a lot of pressure till the fourth quarter, and that is not a general concern, but that was something where I was like, okay, we're improving in this area, but it's definitely not to where we were last year, considering we had a boatload of sacks from Washington, the Washington football team, and then also the Philadelphia Eagles. My general feeling about the game is I felt fairly good about it. I felt excited, and a lot of the fan base is excited. Mm-hmm. I was very happy to see the progression and see it's built, seeing it kind of like we're going in the right direction versus a regression, which is what we're used to as a fan base. We're seeing a regression the next week. The only thing that really kind of concerned me was how the offense in the second half kind of sputtered. It did enough, but it definitely didn't do what it did in the first half. And then my favorite thing was, and this is because I watched it from home, I wasn't in the stadium, was Blake's animation on TV was awesome. It was and especially in the fourth and third quarter when people were dropping passes and stuff wasn't going the way the offense wanted it to go, Blake's animation is phenomenal, and that you can tell the competitor in him wants to win. And when he was throwing to Rashad Green a couple times and he had a couple drops, that was just the pinnacle of, I want you to do well so bad because you are having, and we kind of talked about it a couple episodes ago. He has fun and enjoys the game very similar to Brett Favre. And I'm not saying he has the potential of Brett Favre. I'm just saying the mannerism on the field is so Brett Favre that he gets disappointed immediately when the play's over. And it's like, oh my gosh, come on. And then it turns the switch. Okay, next play, let's go.
Right.
That was the pinnacle for me and of course, when we drove down the field and Myers kicked the field goal was awesome. I just imagine Dave as Kermit sipping, coffee at the time, where when I was kind of watching friends I know that are Steelers fans are just asking for Scobie to be cut. and they went for 2-point conversions and everything. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is where we're at right now, and it gave me hope for the future. This is our first win in September since what, 2012?
2011.
2011. So it's one of those things where it's exciting to see, and I don't want to get over pepped, and we'll get to it for next week. But we'll roll right into injuries and some media people wanting us to beat the Pats. Rashad Green, another hand injury. I think Ryan O'Hara had the hand injury chart as to how many Jaguar
O'Halloran?
Yeah.
Ryan O'Halloran? Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of Jaguar fans. So what do you think? Are we just snake bitten for injuries or what?
Well, I wouldn't say snake bitten because I think injuries are up around the entire league. It's really poor timing because you want a rookie to kind of step in there and get as many reps as he possibly can. And considering that Rashad Green was going to be the fourth wide receiver anyway,
Right.
he wasn't going to see a lot of time on the field, but you still want him to be able to get out there, whether it's just replacing slot receiver on a long third down or a long drive or something like that. You want to be able to get those guys reps. And unfortunately, he's on IR. But the good thing is he's on IR designated to return. So after I believe it's like week 10 or something like that, or November 8th is when he can return back to practice and he can play in the late game. So it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It's just it's a little disappointing. And that on top of Julius Thomas still being injured now, and just you want as many offensive playmakers as you could possibly have out on the field. And when you don't have them, it really puts more pressure on your quarterback and the rest of the team to kind of elevate their play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I'm not at that point where I think we're snake bitten. I think we're doing all right. We're not the Cowboys are snake bitten with Tony Romo and
that's a bad situation in Dallas.
Tony
man.
Romo and Des
Yes.
Bryant out for a substantial amount of time. Or if you're the Saints, potential Drew Brees, shoulder issues, and they're going to trot him out this week. Poor guy. I don't think we're that bad, but I do wonder, like, what do we have to do? We talked about in the first episode, kind of, hey, what's going to make this team successful? It's going to be a lack of injuries, and it seems like every time we take a step forward, we're taking a step or two backwards because of injury. And we cut somebody, and then we re-sign them because we're like, oh, Green got hurt, so we got to have a wide receiver to fill it back up. And so that's the point of where I am hoping that with, Jokel and Gerhardt practicing today, that maybe...
Oh, did Jokel actually practice? Because I heard Gerhardt did. I did not know Jokel practiced
Jokel's
today.
in pads.
Oh.
That's what I saw on the
that's encouraging.
Twitter. So maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I was reading while I was not working, on lunch. So
Right.
That's what I was seeing there. And I was encouraged there and encouraged by the fact that we may get Thomas back a little early. He's probably not playing this week. And then I'm also really, really hoping we get Marks back this week. But I understand it if we don't get him back until week 4 against the Colts.
Right.
So I'm just hoping that all the freak injuries that we've been getting because we had all those hand injuries and stuff start to go away. And it's good to see, and I'll say a positive, it's good to see Lee, who had the hamstring injury, come back and be an immediate impact and kind of show some production. So we're getting people back, and Sam Young did okay.
He played well.
He played well.
I went back and watched some of the tape, and the thing about Sam Young, and I know a lot of people are pushing for him to be the full-time starter because he had a good game, and I know a lot of and that's ridiculous talk,
Yes.
but one thing I will say that the difference between Luke Jokel and Sam Young is that Sam Young, he just looks like a left tackle. He's physically imposing, 6'8", 320 pounds, whereas Luke Jokel, he's they say 6'6", but when you see him out there, he's like 6'5" and maybe 290 at best. He just doesn't look as physical and as big. But if Luke Jokel can come back and then, hopefully be able to elevate his play, then we're looking at an offensive line that's going to be pretty decent this year.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you in a sense that he looked good, barring us always having to float a tight end his way to kind of help out. And the thing that which I was super impressed with was how we kept Ndamukong Suh down. I was really worried that Ndamukong Suh was
Brandon Linder did
Brandon
a really
Linder
freaking good job of that.
and even Wisniewski had a decent game against him, and I was impressed with that. So we'll kind of the second part of this. There was a hashtag this morning called Jagging Off, hoping that we will beat the Patriots, which is the first time, and I can't remember when, and this is before social media probably was a thing, where social media is wanting us to beat the Pats. And thinks that we have a chance at a trap game. And I know that this isn't like college football where you're going to have a team that's far superior and a trap game's going to happen and they're going to lose like Auburn. But I mean, or even Ohio State, having some issues against Northern Illinois. The NFL, and this is why I like the NFL and keep watching it, the parity is so prevalent in that phrase, any given Sunday. But it's definitely refreshing to have people say, please beat the Pats. And there were all these things as to what people would do if we beat the Pats. Is that a refreshing thing for you? Or is that
yes and no. I think it's more just in spite. Because you have to think that a lot of people's opinion of the Jags and Jacksonville as a whole is that it's a bad football team, it's a bad football town, blah, blah, blah. So it's more like the humor aspect of, well, let's see the worst football team in the NFL beat the best football team in the NFL. Right. It's not because they actually genuinely care if we win this game or not. It's just, it's funny to think about. It's like Oakland beating the Raiders last week.
You mean Oakland beating the Ravens?
Oakland, the Ravens, not the Raiders.
Oakland beating the Raiders.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
They beat themselves a lot, but I'm just saying, like, in this particular instance, they beat the Ravens, and it's like, oh, a bad football team beats a good football team. It's like, oh, the sky's falling. Let's just kind of joke around about it. Yeah, I saw a guy threaten to cut off his unit, he said, if the Jaguars won, which I said, I was like, that's something you should never joke around, man. Like, seriously, like, what happens if the Jags are in that game late? Like, it's
or the guy that said he'd walk
21-7. Yeah, it's like 21-17. I know Dan. He said he would nay the Buckman if
That's
the Jags won.
Nay.
I was like, that was a long ass nay, my friend. Like, the Buckman's not an easy bridge to walk.
Nope.
They don't even advise that you walk on that bridge, if we're being real. So it's funny and it's hilarious, and I like that people are like, oh, hey, maybe Jacksonville has the ability to pull an upset. And obviously we'll dive into that when we're talking to the preview, but I don't want to put too much into it. We just got our first win in September, and we're in first place in our division. So like right now, let's just enjoy that, because this is something that we haven't experienced in a long time. So take it one step at a time.
Yeah, let's roll right into it. Week 3, Patriots, Jaguars. We're visiting. The Patriots just came off of a monster win against what a lot of people after week 1 who over-exaggerate and overanalyze week 1 said was a great defense, the Bills defense. And I lost fantasy this week because I sat Tom Brady.
That's a mistake. Why would you do that?
So my thought process was I had Tom Brady and Tony Romo, and the Eagles looked like trash the last week. So I said, okay, great defense. Well, not great. We'll use air quotations. Great defense of the Bills against Tom Brady. There's a potential there for a storm, a little bit. Maybe he gets sacked or pushed a little bit. So how about I start the more secure because the Eagles didn't look very good. Granted, the Cowboys did beat the Eagles, but
yeah, but not in the way you figured it was.
No, not at all. And Tom Brady just spanked the Bills like a 2-year-old at Kmart. Just went in and just wrecked face. And Edelman, and I felt bad for a buddy of mine. Shout out to a Plaid Jaguars fan. I'm sorry I told you to start somebody other than Julian Edelman. My bad. In fantasy, hopefully you won in spite of my suggestion. But
probably not.
Probably not. But it was one of those things. They came out hot, and it seems like Tom Brady is playing with I don't want to say anger as much as I want to say that he's playing with a purpose to kind of give the middle finger to the league. Like, hey, you were going to suspend me for these first 4 games, so I'm going to stick it to you and just take my frustration, that's the word, frustration out on
Right.
any team that I'm playing. So, yes, I am with you, and we kind of did this on Twitter a little bit. I'm with you with the optimism and the excitement for the win. But I really hope we don't get blown out by 34 points.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's. I'm not saying I don't think it's possible. Let me backtrack a little bit. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm looking at New England. New England is a very good team offensively. Defensively, they still have a little bit of struggles. I mean, it's only been 2 games and they've given up 53 points. They gave up 30 points, 32 points to Buffalo.
Yep,
So if your offense is somewhat productive and you can run the ball, I mean, I'm not saying that you might have a better chance than getting in a shootout with the Patriots. I don't think getting in a shootout is the best plan. I think what you're going to be aiming for here is you're going to be aiming for a really big TJ Yeldon, has a breakout game, and you're rushing for 100 to 150 yards, in this game. If you can do that, Blake throws maybe 2 touchdowns. You can get a couple rushing touchdowns and keep the ball out of Brady's hands, then maybe you're sitting here looking at a situation where it's 28-24 going into the game later, 28-25 going into the game late, and see what you can do. But it's not an impossible task because we know New England can get got. That defense can get got. We just know that the offense is going to be able to put up points. So I know that you favorited a tweet of mine earlier today when I said the Jags are going to have to play pretty much press coverage all game long,
especially against Gronk.
Because I mean that's what they're going to have to do against a team like that where the wide receivers are. They just find ways to get open with all the underneath stuff, and Brady's not a guy that's gonna, at least not in this point in his career anymore. He's not a guy who's gonna beat you throwing deep because he doesn't really have a deep downfield threat. He has all of these guys that are able to kind of work underneath and get all of those underneath passes, and if you can do that, then you're gonna stand a better chance of winning the game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This game reminds me similar of when we used to have, and I preface this, I'm not comparing Mojo and Fred Taylor to Bernard Pierce and TJ.
And but.
Well, not a but the thing that I would like to see, and this reminds me of when we used to play the Colts, when Peyton Manning was in his prime, and we used to just feed Mojo and Freddie T. Or when Freddie T left, feed Mojo. That's what I want to see this game. I want to see us run the ball, keep Tom Brady sitting on the sideline with his arms crossed, like, when am I going to get the ball? All right, here we go. I don't want to see us take, 8-minute, 9-minute, 10-minute drives, just grind out drives, keep him on the sideline, and I want to see our defense just cover the hell out of Gronk and Edelman. And say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to double Edelman. We're going to double Gronk. And if you decide to run on us, fine.
You can't double both of those guys.
You can. You just leave somebody open the whole time.
That's
Amendola.
Terrible. Yeah, so you want Amendola running all over you. You don't want that.
Amendola's going to – I'm not hoping that Amendola gets hurt. Amendola's going to, hit the grass wrong and break an ankle or something. That's just how Amendola is. But I'm just hoping specifically Gronk.
It's bad.
I'm really specifically hoping Gronk. I don't want to see any Gronk spikes. I don't want to see us get eaten by a tight end. I mean, the Jags, for the most part, didn't give up too much against Olsen, and they didn't give up too much against the Dolphins. I mean, he had, I think, 8 or 9 points in fantasy. But nothing too much against the Dolphins tight end. But I really want to see that continuation trend of cover the tight end. And let's see what Edelman and the rest of the wide receiving core and the running back can do. And then if Marks comes back, I would really like to see some pressure up the middle because we know that Brady and Manning, specifically Peyton Manning, hate pressure up the middle.
You're right.
They hate pressure that comes up their face because it moves them off their spot. Not pressure off the sides because they can just step forward. Pressure up the middle because it moves them to step to the right or the left. That's really what I want to see. I want to see some pressure up the middle, So I'm really, really hoping that we get some pressure up the middle to kind of move him off his spot. And like I said, keep him to the sideline. Let's do it. I'm right there with you. People, the excitement and we're going to do it. I feel like this game, again, is similar to a Colts-Jaguars game from years ago and similar to the Jaguars game, Broncos game that we had a couple years ago where the Broncos were favored by like double digits. And, granted, I don't think Puz is going to have another interception like he did against Peyton Manning, but we were competitive in that game, specifically going into halftime. And what I would like to see also is an offense more complete in a sense that they can put a whole game together. And it's not just offense is great in the first half and subpar in the second half, or offense is subpar in the second half and great in the, offense is terrible in the first half. Great.
You just want to see some consistency.
Yeah, I want to see consistency across the board. So if we are running the ball well, let's do that. If we're play action passing to Allen Robinson, great. And the thing which I think is funny is all of the Jaguars beat writers retweeting Bill Belichick quotes, and I'm sitting there looking like this is what Bill Belichick does. He will hype up anybody. That's how he always is. It could be the worst of the worst, and I can't even think of. It could be Ryan Mallett and the wonderful Houston Texans. He'd be like, "Oh, Ryan Mallett does some good things, guys." And
he also had Ryan Mallett for like 3 or 4 years. So
I know, but it seems like that's the general thing that he does whenever he is talking about an opponent. And I have to admit, he's the master of the phrase "an Eskimo that sells snow" to his team in the media, where he talks up the opponent like they're phenomenal. And I know that we're on the, I don't want to say up curve, but we at least look like we're on the up curve. And I'm not going to get overhyped that Bill Belichick is talking about how good Bortles is, how good Allen Robinson is, how our offense, is great on third down, or how Blake makes moves on third down to make us competitive. I'm just not going to buy into that because he does that for everybody.
Right, and it's just a trap. It's what he's going to end up doing is using all that stuff, he said, positive stuff against you. So the Jags just have to be very focused and be very careful about how they approach this game on Sunday. It's a 1:00 kickoff, so I mean it's kind of returning back to normal. But it is a road trip. You're going into Gillette Stadium. It's not an easy place to play. If you can get off to a fast start and kind of shell shock the Patriots a little bit, then you might. I think they stand a solid chance. As far as predicting the game, I'm not going to. I don't have a good feeling about them coming out with a win. I'll just say I'll be pleasantly surprised if they do.
So my feeling is 27-21 Patriots. That's kind of where I'm at.
It's gonna go one of two ways. It'll be 35-14 Pats, or it'll be like 23-21 Jaguars.
There you go.
Like it'll be something stupid like that.
Just predicted.
Well, I'm saying it's either or.
to me, I'm a realist in a sense. I still think the Pats win this. I just don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think they blow the doors off of us. Hopefully, and I want to say I'm looking back at last season. I think that this is going to be a great showing for Blake's mentality because I hiccuped. Because last year he wasn't playing it in, say, big name games, away games. I mean, you're going to go look at, I guess you could kind of count the game against the Cowboys in London, which was a home game. But if we're talking about away games, there wasn't a high profile person he's going to play. I felt like he dealt with it well. Right. Since he's like, I'm not playing against Tom Brady, I'm playing against the Patriot defense. But this is a high profile game, just as next year's game against the Green Bay Packers is going to be, in a sense that everybody is going to be watching this game and they're going to be looking at Blake. And specifically, it's in Gillette Stadium, which is even, we've never beat the Patriots in regular season, or even not postseason.
You haven't beat the Patriots.
Yeah, ever. So if Blake and the Jaguars can beat the Patriots, I already kind of hinted at my boss, I'm probably not going to work on Monday.
I can't afford to do that, but I
I've
will.
got some sick time, so
I've got some vacation time I can use, but it's not. That's not the day. Those aren't the days I'm using it for. if we do, if
well,
granted, if we do find a way to beat the Patriots, it might be one of those I'll be at work late days.
yes, there you go. That's a better perception. I definitely might be at work later because of celebration. But no, I'm curious to see what happens. I think unlike previous years, last year, years under Blaine Gabbert, stuff like that, I'm not concerned, and I could be completely wrong. I'm not concerned about getting blown out by 40 points or 40-10 or 35-3 or anything like that. Where I think that if our offensive line is pretty good, no Vince Wilfork, and the Patriots' offensive line did show a few struggles here or there. So I'm curious to see how the lines match up and see if Odrick can get some pressure or Scuda. And I don't want to rush Marks back because Marks is one of my favorite players on defense. I'm hoping if he's back, he's really back. If not, I'll be okay with him being back for Andrew Luck because I would be completely okay with him stacking Andrew Luck a bunch.
And that's really the game I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking forward to too. Is week 4 at the Colts because we play the Colts and then what's the game? We play a bunch of games away. I'm really looking forward to the Colts because we should have Julius Thomas back and we should have some Derek Marks back and potentially Cyprian back because Cyprian is pretty much semi-ruled. So I'm very
James Sample played pretty well though in his spot.
He did kind of play, but he did ask to kind of get removed and they put Evans back in, but Evans is hurt. So I'm curious to see how it happens. I just, for the love of God, no big plays. Just play press. Let him get everything short. I don't care. I don't want to see Tom Brady ball out with 460 some odd yards like he did against the Buffalo Bills. And I would love, if we hold them down, even if we lose, I would love it to be one of those things where our defense shows up better than the Bills. You know, not that I have any hate against Bills Mafia, but I would love us to show up a little bit better. So that's pretty much it. Next week will be episode 9, and we'll probably kind of go over our overview of this third game, and then look forward to game 4. You can catch us on YouTube at JagBlitz, and you can catch Wale at DMC Wale on Twitter. You can catch me at Loboid, and you can also catch us on Facebook. Any parting words of wisdom?
Take care of your teeth, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know.
Shoot. Take care of your teeth. All right. We appreciate anybody. Watch us, follow us. We will have Twitch alerts has corrected itself. So anybody that will follow us, please like our page. Give us feedback on YouTube. Any questions that you guys would like to have, please, we'd love to answer those. We can do maybe a Q&A for an episode. That's not a big deal. So thank you again, and we will talk to you all next week.
Yeah, have a good night.